In this video, I'll use a Worx pole saw to cut away a bunch of limbs from a Bradford Pear that split last summer. I'll then use a Ryobi 14-inch chainsaw to take it down. Since this channel is a chronicling of my home projects, I figured I'd show it, but it's definitely not a DIY on how to cut down a tree. It's more of a DIY on how to put a backyard project in the Lord's hands, because it becomes touch and go a little bit later in the video. What I'm doing here is trimming away all the limbs that aren't completely vertical. I'm hoping it'll take away some of the weight and make it a little bit less of a hazard. And here's where the video starts to get a bit sketchy. I'd watched a few videos on how to cut down a tree. It's all about the notch and hinge. Easy enough, right? But once you get into it on a substantial tree, you'll start to question your YouTube knowledge. Right here's where my biggest mistake occurred. My notch was not all the way across the tree and wasn't nearly as deep as it should be. While I was cutting it, for some reason I feared that the tree would just fall. So I didn't cut it nearly as big as it should have been, and then it was all downhill from there. If you pull out a shovel during the tree cutting process, you know mistakes were made. Then I had to double down with a mattock. Since my notch wasn't done right, my cut for the hinge is going way too deep. I'm about 3/4 of the way through the tree at this point. And it's about this time that I remembered about a year ago I had a tree service quote cutting a tree down and leaving it. They quoted $100, and that was going to be well worth it at this point. I cut and tried to put in a few wedges here, but that didn't work either. As a last-ditch effort, I figured I'd go ahead and show the notch a little attention. I was in there for maybe 3 seconds, popped out, and magic happened. That was quite the experience. If you happen to watch this entire video and you're still here, please like the video and think about subscribing. I do have 7 other Bradford Pears still standing, so who knows what'll happen.